Okay, hello and welcome to the online open house for the new Engineering Student Center, a proposed project that would renew the existing Bechtel Engineering Center that overlooks Memorial Glade and would be entirely funded by philanthropy. I'm Kyle Gibson, the Director of Communications for UC Berkeley Capital Strategies. Capital Strategies provides planning, design, real estate, construction, and development services for the UC Berkeley campus. Today, I'll be joined by members of Capital Strategies' physical and environmental planning team, as well as our capital projects team, to give an overview of the proposed Engineering Student Center. We'll also be joined by representatives from the College of Engineering, who are working closely with us on this project and on today's open house. The program for today's online open house will begin with a welcome and remarks from Sujay King-Liu, Dean of the College of Engineering. Following Sujay, I will provide an overview of the capital project planning and approval process at UC Berkeley and how this particular project relates to that process. Next, our lead planner on this project, Marissa Chang, will give a detailed overview of the new Engineering Student Center, the proposed project schedule, and the design. And finally, we'll conclude today by answering questions submitted by the campus community about this project. In addition to answering the questions that were submitted in advance of today's open house, I would also like to invite everyone watching today to submit additional questions through the Zoom chat. The questions submitted through the chat today will be visible by today's speakers, and we'll use the remaining time after today's presentation about the project to answer as many of those questions as possible. And now to begin, I would like to introduce the Dean of the College of Engineering to introduce this exciting project. Sujay.
Right, thanks so much, Kyle, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this event to learn more about the Engineering Student Center project. I really am excited to tell you about it, providing some background, and then I'll hand it back to our Capital Strategies team. So many of you might know already that engineering was there at the beginning when the University of California was founded in 1868. Specifically, mining and mechanical arts were part of the University of California back then. Now, engineering has diversified over the years and grown. And in 1931, the colleges of mechanics and of civil engineering merged to form the College of Engineering. And electrical engineering also became a new department in that new college. And over the years, additional people joined. The College of Mining joined the College of Engineering in 1942. So today's College of Engineering really, I would say, was formed later, let's say in the 1940s. Now, after World War II, the college did continue to grow and it was boosted by partnerships with government and industry. And so we had lots more students, and eventually in 1980, the Bechtel Engineering Center was built. It was built to house an engineering library, Kresge Library, and then also had event space, Sibley Auditorium, and also the Garbarini Lounge. But over the years, the number of programs have grown together with the number of students. And so today, Bechtel Engineering Center is a hub, a vibrant hub of student activity. It houses engineering student services, which advises students to make sure they have a plan to graduate on time. And it also provides tutoring services through the Center for Access to Engineering Excellence. And there are a lot more services, career workshops, psychological counseling. Those programs have grown. And more recently, we have inclusive excellence programs, such as Empowering Engineers for Positive Change, which help to foster equity and inclusion. So as the activities have grown, we have seen a burgeoning need for space. So this chart here shows how the student body has grown, and the diversity of students in our campus, engineering students, has grown as well. So since the 1980, when the Bechtel Engineering Center was built, the number of students has grown by 80%. And so we really need to find a way to better serve the students' needs today. So in 2018, the College of Engineering underwent a master facilities planning process where we surveyed all the community members, including students, as well as the faculty and staff, about space usage and future anticipated space needs. And through these surveys, we learned that the students and also the faculty and staff consider the Bechtel Center a hub or the heart of engineering. And so we would like to revitalize the heart of the College of Engineering neighborhood on campus. And so this is our vision for a expanded and renovated student center that will be more welcoming and inclusive. It will have sufficient space to house all of those activities that are in the Bechtel Center today and more. So we want it to be a place where students can gather, study, learn, and discover. But also engineering is all about collaboration to come up with new innovations, technological innovations that will benefit society. So we really don't have a lot of space on campus today for students to collaborate as they innovate new solutions. And so we would like to build this new center, and we believe that it will have transformative impact on the student learning experience. Also in the future, when this building is finished, it will serve as a very welcoming front door to the College of Engineering neighborhood. It will both have indoor collaborative spaces, but also outdoor spaces that are welcoming and inclusive. And the spaces indoors, you'll find out later, are designed to be very flexible so that they can be used for a variety of activities. Today, a lot of the College of Engineering programs serve students from all across the campus. So we want to make sure that people feel welcome and have places to work with us here in our neighborhood. Now, we also are proud of all the accomplishments of our students and alumni. So we want to really take this opportunity to make the life and activity of the college visible and inviting for all. And we have core values of excellence, of course, for Berkeley, also innovation that's inherent in excellent engineering, but more collaboration and social responsibility, because we want our innovations to positive impact on society and not negative unintended consequences. So hopefully you can see from what you'll learn today from my colleagues here that the spaces that we envision are going to be fostering a welcoming culture that unlocks our individual and therefore also our collective potential. Also, in recent years, the campus has built up a very rich entrepreneurship ecosystem. We do have a lot of entrepreneurial programs in the College of Engineering today, notably the Sutarja Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, which will relocate its headquarters to this new building when it's finished. And there are many other programs that help the students succeed, not only in the academic endeavors, but in co-curricular endeavors and entrepreneurial endeavors as well. Now, this project is going to be fully sponsored by gifts, so philanthropic support. And I'm pleased to share with you that so far we've had great success. We've been fundraising for this project for about 6 months, and we are already more than 75% of the way there to raise $95 million for this project. And so we are very optimistic that we will proceed with this project next spring and finish it by the end of 2024, so we can open it, celebrate this grand opening and at the beginning of 2025. And so I'd just like to thank you again for coming to learn more about this project. We look forward to answering your questions, and I'd like to hand it back over to Kyle now.
Before we begin taking a deeper dive into the new Engineering Student Center, we'd like to begin with an overview of the University of California's formal process for the review and approval of capital projects and how that relates to the proposed Engineering Student Center project. The University of California is a state agency with the authority to entitle its own capital projects. This means the University of California approves and permits its projects, not local jurisdictions such as cities or counties. UC campuses establish their land use guidelines with a long-range development plan and conduct environmental review in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The entitlement process is overseen by the UC Board of Regents and guided by state law. Accordingly, UC Berkeley, like every other UC campus, is responsible for implementing a highly managed process when it considers new capital projects. At UC Berkeley, project approval is when the duly authorized person endorses and approves a proposed capital project's budget, including funding sources and uses, its design, and an environmental analysis of the proposed design. The UC Board of Regents ultimately reserves the right to review and approve any capital project. However, the regents have delegated certain approval responsibilities to the UC Office of the President and to campus chancellors. These delegated responsibilities are only available when a project meets certain criteria, including consistency with the campus's long-range development plan and capital financial plan. These delegations for project approval are largely determined by a project's budget and funding sources. As this chart shows, the UC Board of Regents review and approve all capital projects with budgets over $70 million. UC Berkeley will be taking the Engineering Student Center project to the UC Board of Regents for approval. And the process we will be taking this is the process we'll be taking a closer look at today. At UC Berkeley, the Chancellor has appointed an advisory committee for campus land use decisions, capital investments, and project priorities. This committee is named the Capital Planning Committee and is often referred to by its acronym CPC. The CPC assures that UC Berkeley's land use and capital investment decisions are optimized and optimize the use of our limited resource of both land and capital to realize our campus visions for academic excellence and physical development. The CPC is responsible for tracking and reviewing major capital projects at milestones throughout the UC capital approval process. The CPC has significant involvement in projects with total budgets. The CPC has significant investment in projects with total budgets over $70 million, such as the Engineering Student Center, before they go to the UC Board of Regents for final approval. Reflecting the dual governance structure of UC Berkeley, the Chancellor has asked the Executive Vice Chancellor and Provost to chair the CPC, and also has appointed both academic and administrative leadership as committee members. The CPC members include the Vice Provost for Academic Planning, the Dean of the College of Environmental Design, the Chair of the Academic Senate, the Chair of the Academic Senate's Committee for Academic Planning and Resource Allocation, and Vice Chancellors for Administration, Finance, Student Affairs, Research, and University Development and Alumni Relations, as well as the Associate Vice Chancellor for Capital Strategies. The CPC's established process for capital project review and approval is broken down into 4 main phases. The CPC makes recommendations for the Chancellor's consideration and approval at the end of each phase. The first phase, concept, begins when an idea for a new capital project has been identified. The CPC will do a light review using campus resources to determine if the idea aligns with the campus's priorities and is worthwhile to expend additional resources to study further. Should the CPC advise that a concept advance and the Chancellor approves, the project moves into the second phase, feasibility and planning. During this phase, there is a deeper project review that includes both campus resources and outside consultants that validate the proof of concept. During this phase, a project's scope, budget, funding strategy, and schedule are refined to align an individual project's objectives with campus priorities. Where appropriate, initial concept illustrations are refined to give the CPC, the Chancellor, and others a more clear idea of how a potential capital project may fit within the campus environs. At the end of the second phase, the CPC reviews a project's overall feasibility and alignment with campus priorities and makes a recommendation to the Chancellor on whether a project should advance into the third phase, design. Should the Chancellor find a project to be viable and give approval for design work, a project will be refined within the parameters developed and approved in the prior feasibility and planning phase. It is during the design phase that the proposed project is shaped into a detailed design and environmental review occurs. Towards the end of the design phase, the CPC will review a project's progress and recommend to the Chancellor whether to advance a project into construction. At this point, a project should have a stable design, an established budget, viable funding strategy, environmental review, and a schedule. Approval by the Chancellor of this design phase is when project approval typically occurs. Only after this campus-level design approval would the campus take the proposed project to the Board of Regents for final approval. After regental approval of design, a project can advance into a fourth and final stage of construction. This is when construction drawings are prepared and the physical construction occurs. The project is then built according to the approved project design, budget, and schedule. During each of the 4 CPC phases, additional campus committees are established by the CPC and the Chancellor to provide additional input and oversight and to further help inform their recommendations. An academic programming committee is appointed by and chaired by the Vice Provost for Academic Planning. This committee, whose membership is tailored for each project, helps inform the academic community about proposed capital projects and helps align individual projects with a broader academic mission. The Academic Program Committee considers project alignment with the academic mission and provides input on the instructional and academic program for a proposed building. The Academic Program Committee is also the initial and primary venue for occupants of nearby buildings to learn and provide direct input on other issues that could arise through the project development process. This Academic Programming Committee meets regularly throughout a project's development. Another committee is the Capital Projects Finance Committee. This committee reviews a project's financial viability and proposed funding strategy. The committee is chaired by the Vice Chancellor for Administration, and members include 3 faculty, 2 external expert advisors, and 4 institutional leaders. Committee members are appointed for 3-year terms by the Chancellor and the Executive Vice Chancellor and Provost, based on nominations put forward by the CPC and the Academic Senate. A technical review is coordinated by Capital Strategies under the direction of the Associate Vice Chancellor for Capital Strategies and the campus architect. 2 additional committees provide technical expertise to inform a project's design: the Design Review Committee and the Seismic Review Committee. The Design Review Committee advises the campus architect regarding the design of university buildings and open spaces. Design Review Committee members are also appointed by the Chancellor and consist of the Dean of the College of Environmental Design, design professionals, and faculty from the disciplines of architecture, landscape architecture, urban planning, and historic preservation. Professional staff from physical and environmental planning and capital projects also provide technical review and oversee development of various project documents, including environmental review. The Seismic Review Committee is appointed by the Chancellor and consists of faculty and emeriti from the disciplines of structural and civil engineering, 1 faculty member from the College of Environmental Design, and practicing structural engineers. Throughout the process, Capital Strategies advises campus leadership on project communication. As part of the communications review, proposed projects are generally introduced during the 2nd phase, planning and feasibility. Broader public engagement beyond that occurring with the Academic Program Committee and Design Review is accomplished during the 3rd phase, design. For a proposed capital project to proceed through the phases of the CPC process, approval is required at each step for academic programming, financial review, and technical review. The CPC will recommend to the Chancellor if a project should proceed from phase 1 into the next. For proposed capital projects with a budget over $70 million, the final approval to proceed from design to construction is ultimately given by the Board of Regents. All the work coordinated and conducted in the multi-phase CPC process for reviewing and approving projects is guided by UC Berkeley's Capital Financial Plan and several key campus planning documents. The overarching planning document is UC Berkeley's strategic plan, which defines our campus's near and long-term academic goals and establishes a strategy for reaching them. Supporting the strategic plan are 3 primary physical planning documents: the Long-Range Development Plan, which provides the regulatory framework and land use structure for the physical development of the campus; the Campus Master Plan that establishes a long-term aspirational vision comprising specific development strategies and projects; and the Physical Design Framework that provides high-level architectural and urban design guidance that aligns with our land use and sustainability objectives. And now, with a fundamental look at our capital project design and approval process, we'll take a closer look at the proposed Engineering Student Center, which has been moving through the CPC project review and approval process for almost 2 years. The Engineering Student Center has recently moved from the 2nd phase, planning and design, to the 3rd phase of design. Capital Strategies is now engaging with the campus community to provide information about the proposed project and its design. And now I would like to introduce our lead planner on the Engineering Student Center project, Marissa Cheng, to give us an overview of the proposed project and design. Marissa.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. I'm going to attempt to share the correct screen. Okay. So I'm going to just provide a little bit of background on the existing building, and then we'll go into the proposed project. Bechtel Engineering Center, which you can see in the red dashed box, was built in 1980. It was designed by George Matsumoto. The existing building is located just north of Evans Hall, and it's also adjacent to McLaughlin to the west, Davis Hall to the north, and Hearst Mining to the east. And Bechtel is an example of brutalist architecture, and it was actually intentionally designed as a kind of low building set into the landscape in response to the height of Evans Hall, which was built a few years prior to Bechtel. The existing building primarily houses student-focused program, as Sujay had mentioned earlier in her introduction. So services like engineering student services, inclusive engineering, the Kresge Engineering Library, and it also houses Sibley Auditorium and the adjacent Garbarini Lounge, which is used as study space when it's not in use for programs that are in Sibley. So this is a view of the existing building looking west towards McLaughlin, which you can kind of see on the left side of the slide. Bechtel is on the right. And to the left is a stand of redwood trees. And then beyond the redwood trees, there's Evans Hall. So as you can see, Bechtel is shadowed by Evans during the day. And wayfinding to the services in the building can be really quite difficult because of the staircases that exist on the building that are kind of extending out from the building facade, as well as the dark glass, which is typical of buildings from this era. And, the student services in the building, as Sujay had mentioned, have also outgrown its available space as enrollment has grown over the years. And the building also has a rooftop terrace. You can see here with the arrow indicating Trevethan Terrace, which is well used throughout the year. So in 2020, the College of Engineering completed a facilities master plan for modernizing its physical spaces for learning and discovery, as well as research and innovation. And the master plan identified building projects, including the Bechtel addition, also the replacement of Hesse and O'Brien halls, the redesign of the West Plaza open space, which is the open space between McLaughlin and O'Brien and Sutardja, Davis, and Bechtel. And it also included planning for the seismic retrofit and renewal of Davis Hall, Corey, Echeverry, and McLaughlin. And so the renovation and expansion of Bechtel will achieve some of the key master plan goals from that 2020 plan of enhancing the student experience and creating community, and also for improving campus connectivity and the visibility of the college within the campus at large. And, as Sujay had mentioned, through surveys and focus groups, College of Engineering students, faculty, and staff noted that Bechtel is the heart of the college's neighborhood, and that its facilities in the building could be improved. Other projects, such as the replacement of Hesse and O'Brien halls and the seismic retrofit of McLaughlin Hall, are also being studied in parallel with the development of this project. The Engineering Student Center is also aligned with the campus-wide plans and goals, and it embraces the campus's strategic plan goals to improve the student experience and to foster academic excellence and discovery experiences. It's also identified as a project in the 2022 Campus Master Plan, and that is a plan that's available on the Capital Strategies website if you are inclined to go and look for it. It is on the campus planning and then planning documents page. And specifically, this project will not only benefit the college, but it will also help address the campus-wide shortage of study space that was identified in the Campus Master Plan as one of the highest priority space needs for the student experience. And from a campus planning perspective, the Bechtel project, the Engineering Student Center, will also strengthen the edge of the historic Central Glade, which is an open space that is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The Bechtel project also anticipates the future vision for the Central Glade, which you see here in an axonometric drawing on this slide. And, as described in the Campus Master Plan. So as the programs in Evans Hall are replaced elsewhere on campus by the Gateway Building, by the Academic Replacement Building and other projects, There will be an opportunity to renew the historic Central Glade with a new building that is lower. Let me see if I can annotate this. So by a new building on the site of Evans Hall. Okay, nope, can't annotate. Okay, but you can see here the Bechtel addition is kind of in the middle of the slide. And just south of that, we're now seeing a lower building in Evans Hall that probably has some space underground, some space above ground that is also a landscape on the roof that kind of creates a seamless open space throughout the Central Glade. And this transformation will actually create new views of the Central Glade from Bechtel, from the new building, which will visually connect the building to the campus and help support the Engineering Student Center in creating a welcoming front door to the College of Engineering precinct, which really doesn't exist today. All right. So the Engineering Student Center will transform Bechtel into a vibrant hub of learning and discovery, also cross-disciplinary collaboration, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And it's not only for engineering students, but it's also for anybody who wants to collaborate with the college's students from anywhere across campus. The renewed and expanding building will accommodate existing programs in Bechtel, as well as new programs, reflecting the college's larger student enrollment since the building was originally built. And so we'll retain Sibley Auditorium, engineering student services, inclusive excellence, all the other student services in the building, Kresge Engineering Library and Garbarini Lounge, as well as some of the student club spaces that exist currently in the basement. You can see that in the lower left-hand corner of the image on this slide. And then we'll be adding new program as well. So the Sutarja Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, a kind of headquarters for the Berkeley Center for New Media, and a significant amount of flexible meeting, collaboration, and social spaces. And we will also be adding a moderate amount of swing space as well. So all of this adds up to the current building is just under 50,000 gross square feet, and we are adding about 35,500 gross square feet. These programs will all be organized, as you can see in this image, around a kind of central gathering space that is called the Forum. And that exists on multiple floors, and it's kind of an atrium-like space that has a lot of different types of gathering spaces within it. That forum kind of cuts through the building, this section, by the way, is cutting through the building from east to west. So McLaughlin is on the left, and you can see Corey Hall in the background. And it shows how the different programs will be arranged. So, you know, the Garbarini Lounge will stay on in its current location with Sibley Auditorium behind it. Below on the first level, there will be the Kresge Engineering Library will stay in its current location as well. And the student club spaces will be located here, but probably refreshed and reconfigured to accommodate some shared conference and meeting spaces. And some improvements to the circulation for the building to make it more intuitive to find your way throughout the building. So on the same level as the Garbarini Lounge, there will be the Forum and kind of open space that can be used for different types of events, as well as informal gathering. Engineering student services offices. And then on the third level, additional collaboration and study space is primarily located in this area, with additional office space kind of behind the words that you see here that say the Forum. And then the Sutarja Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology on the top level, the fourth floor, as well as some future growth space, search space here on the right. You can also see here, we'll talk about this on a couple of slides ahead, but there is a fair amount of open space included with this building as well that is exterior to the building. So this slide shows a conceptual image of what the southern side of the building will look like. And you will note it does also include the future condition of Evans being replaced with a lower building, which is what you see here in the foreground. The Engineering Student Center is being designed as a modern building that is intended to integrate seamlessly with the existing building, which you can see with is this kind of concrete base here on the left side of the slide where there are kind of hanging planters. And it will also integrate seamlessly with the classical Beaux-Arts buildings that exist to either side, so McLaughlin as well as Hearst Mining. The addition will have a lightweight steel structure that is expressed in the building's design, as you can see here. So really showcasing its structural engineering and its innovation. And we're discussing a whole bunch of really exciting structural systems for this addition right now, which we will hope to share with you in the future. And it has a canopy that shades the building both for comfort and for sustainability to shade the building and avoid excessive heat gain during the day. The addition will include a high degree of transparency, so allowing natural light to permeate the building and to allow views of the activity in the building during the day as well as at night. And as you can see here, there is ample outdoor space for interaction and collaboration, including really a large terrace space on the southern side of the building. So the Engineering Student Center will create an inviting and welcoming door to the College of Engineering neighborhood from within the area as well as from the campus core approaching from the south. So, if you're coming from, say Wheeler Hall or from Dwinell Hall, you're coming through the Central Glade and you'll be able to see the building and see what's going on, whereas you couldn't before. The reuse of the building will also reduce embodied carbon, and that is the carbon that's associated with producing new materials that are needed for construction. And reusing the building will require approximately half of the carbon needed if we had done all new construction. And we are targeting LEED Gold for the project as a metric for its sustainability, and we will exceed that if possible. The building will also include outdoor spaces. There will be an entry plaza along the southern side of the building on the same level as the Garbarini Lounge. And on the terrace level, one level up, that's what we were looking at in the previous slide, there will be multiple types of seating. So communal tables, some step benches for socializing and studying. There might be some cafe tables and benches for smaller groups and individual studying as well. So we're really trying to provide a range of different types of spaces for students as well as for anybody who's in the building. So now we're going to look at some conceptual images of what the building might look like. So these views on this slide show the central forum space on the second level on the left side and on the third level on the right side. So let's look at these a little closer. So on the left, we're showing this space in a lounge configuration right now, but this is a multi-purpose space that we're envisioning could be used for lectures, for poster sessions and other events with different types of furniture and different configurations. And then here in this slide, we're looking at the third level of the forum. This is the upper level of the forum, and it shows lounge seating in the foreground, and then kind of communal tables for studying or gathering on the right side. There could be some counter seating. That's what you can kind of see in the kind of center of the back of the image. People kind of along the edge of the forum, sitting at a counter or standing at a counter height. And space for studying or meeting, or maybe if you're just waiting for somebody. And I think, as you can see in both of these views, the building features a lot of transparency and clear sight lines, which we hope really aids wayfinding throughout the building and also fosters a sense of community and activity. All right, so here the view on the left shows the second level gallery and then in the background, and then the kind of renewed Garbarini Lounge in the foreground. And Sibley Auditorium is behind us in that view. So as you can see, we've added different types of seating and display spaces, looking at that space in the background. And again, it's still very open. And the gallery is intended to feature student work along with other student-focused programming. It could also be a space that's used by student clubs to feature pop-ups or other types of programming. And there's also a potential display screen that you can see here in the middle of the image that could feature student work as well as work of student clubs, as well as college programming and announcements. And this view shows the outdoor plaza that is proposed for the second level. So this area would include some trees with benches built around them, similar to Dwinell Hall, but nicer, as well as additional cafe table seating. And this part of the plaza is adjacent to a planned cafe space that's kind of on the very right side of the image behind the tree. And that cafe would be accessible from the building interior as well as from the outside. And our next to last slide shows two more views from the terrace level. On the left is the view looking south towards the Campanile with Evans replaced by a lower building. And on the right, there's a view looking west towards McLaughlin Hall. So we can take a closer look at, I did not do zoom ins of these, but on the left, we're looking at, you can see there are different multiple types of seating. There's some planters, there's some cafe tables, some communal tables. And we really wanted there to be some plants that were integrated into the terrace, similar to what exists today. On the right, we're looking west towards McLaughlin, and that this is a view of the southern terrace, which kind of shows you how it's designed to have some sunny spots, but it's also designed to have some shaded areas and shade provided by the canopy above. And that's to provide different kinds of outdoor space. And sometimes you want to be in the sun, and sometimes you want to be in the shade. And especially if you're working on your computer, you might need the shade. All right, so this is the last slide before we take questions. As Sujay had mentioned before, this is a project that will be funded through philanthropy. More than 74 million has been raised to date from the college's generous donors. And that comprises, as Sujay had mentioned, more than 3/4 of the project budget. The project is expected to break ground in 2023, and we're anticipating opening the new building in early 2025. The project is currently in the design phase with Regental approval planned for the fall. And to date, the planning and design process has involved a lot of consultation with current and future building occupants, including faculty, staff, and students. And Kyle, with that, I will turn it back to you.
So joining us from the College of Engineering is Sarah Yang and Jasmine Payne. And from Capital Projects and our project management group, we've got John and Case. So what I'm doing is I'm going through some of the questions that were submitted in advance. And if anyone is submitting questions in the Q&A, please keep submitting them if you haven't already. And we'll use the remaining 15, 20 minutes or so that we have left to try to answer as many questions as possible. So to start with, Jasmine, I'm going to go ahead and throw a question to you that came in ahead of time. Could you please talk a little bit about the project funding and how this funding was allocated for this project? And just generally, could you touch on other needs in the college regarding capital needs?
Sure, thank you. We are just delighted with the momentum and the progress that we have had on this project. And it's certainly one that has been incredibly enthusiastically received by our alumni, friends, and benefactors. But, of course, capital fundraising is one part of what we do in the development office. We're also working on fundraising for scholarships, fellowships, endowed chairs, and new faculty lines as part of the Light the Way campaign. And I think there are, as our facilities master plan shows, there are very ambitious projects on the horizon for the college, and we will be focused on those as well. Those are in earlier phases, and some of those are really significant projects and will require 4 times the funding that this project requires. So they're definitely projects that we're actively engaged with, but they do have significant philanthropic needs. And there is at this time no state money to help with those projects. So we have a lot of work to do in relationship building with our external partners to secure the kinds of gifts that it will take to move projects of that magnitude forward.
And Kyle, if I can just add, we have completed a very robust feasibility study for the Hesse O'Brien replacement building project. And as soon as funding is available to proceed into design with that project, we will definitely go for the Regents P approval and get going on that one again.
Excellent, thank you. And actually, Marissa, that ties into another question that came in from the chat. Could you talk a little bit about the input from engineering staff and students and faculty that has gone into this project? And maybe Sarah and Jasmine might be able to add a little bit to that as well.
Sure. So we have been meeting with folks who will be in the building regularly throughout the process. And, we can't do this project without them, right? We need to know how they're operating and what their needs are, and how we can accommodate those within the building in order to design a successful building. So there was a lot of contact and kind of discussions with these groups in the feasibility phase, especially, really nailing down what the needs are, developing a program for the building, and then designing that into a building that is intuitive and accomplishes all of the project goals. And so we were meeting with staff as well as the faculty that oversee some of the student services, as well as student groups. And, I think it was especially helpful to hear from the students because we were talking to them not only about the student club spaces, but how they would use all the different spaces. We had students saying that they would not necessarily bring their classmates to study and collaborate to Bechtel today, but that they would definitely do so when this new building is built and it includes spaces that they would actually use. I don't know if John or Case wants to add anything else to that, or Jasmine or Sarah.
Maybe the only thing to say is that, the conversations will be ongoing. Like there has been discussions with the people, the stakeholders involved, but there will certainly be opportunities to continue discussion and getting feedback throughout. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and I would add, if you are not a future occupant of this building, and we expect, there are the folks who are kind of have programs, specifically dedicated programmed spaces in this building. And then there are all the students and faculty and staff who will pass through this building on a hopefully regular basis. And all of your feedback is always welcome. And if you can route that through the college, or if you are not in the college, you can route it through our office in Capital Strategies, and we are always willing to listen.
Marissa, another kind of question that's coming in that's kind of tied to this, in addition to talking with the groups about the new building, there are also the groups that are currently in the building. And a couple questions came in about, will there be a process for figuring out alternative spaces for meeting and for program uses during construction? And maybe John, Marissa, could you touch on that too?
Sure, I can start, and then John, you can supplement. So obviously, people are not going to be staying in the building during construction. And so we'll be moving them out. And we're currently in the very early stages of surge planning for the project. And so, we're in May 2022, and we're anticipating that construction will start in early 2023. So we do have a good amount of time to really firm up those plans. And that plan will be finalized well in advance of construction. And we will be consulting all of the current building occupants to make sure that the surge space also meets their needs while construction is occurring.
Yeah, Marissa, I think you answered it. I don't really have much more to add.
All right, John, I'm going to throw another one to you. Impacts once construction begins. As a project manager on this and having done many other projects on campus of a similar scale, could you kind of touch on mitigation measures and our communications and meeting strategy with building occupants and surrounding building occupants during construction?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so campus construction projects on campus are required to follow mitigation. They're required to mitigate impacts to the surrounding community during construction. And some of those dust and noise come to mind, traffic. There's many others. And so there will be plans developed, and in the case of dust and noise, actually the contractor that the campus contracts with will be required to submit plans that get approved, and we work with campus units like EH&S to review those plans. And then we have to monitor and make sure that, the plans are being adhered to and there's no impacts. And then, we're going to work closely with the surrounding buildings and the facilities managers and keep them apprised of what's the status of the project, and also to hear issues as they come up and to respond to those issues.
Great. Marissa, another planning question, a couple of people asking about foot traffic in the area, how the project might impact existing traffic patterns. Could you talk a little bit about the work that's been done to analyze the traffic in the area, both with the campus master plan and the College of Engineering's master plan?
Sure. Well, with the College of Engineering master plan, since that came right before the campus master plan, we had done a survey of the students and faculty and staff in the college, asking them about how they walk through the area. So we have some idea of how people are circulating through the area from that survey, which was it was a map-based survey. And we're happy to share results with anybody who is interested. And then for the campus master plan, kind of built on those results from the college's plan, and actually did pedestrian and bike and car counts at key gateways throughout the campus. So I think in this case, we probably did one at Northgate. So looking at how many people are coming through campus, how they're coming through campus, and that was the basis for how we developed the primary and secondary pathway maps that are in the campus master plan, as well as the bike maps that are in the plan. And so I think we would hope to be consistent with the campus master plan with this project in terms of how it will impact circulation. And our hope is that it improves circulation. This is a very challenging area of campus, especially for accessibility. And so we're navigating a lot of grade change. It's very steep. There are a lot of different grades. There are a lot of different staircases and different pathways to get around and ramps. And this project will help start making sense of all of that. And that will continue with additional capital projects that the college completes over the following years. Does that answer your question?
I think so. Another question came in, and Sarah and Jasmine, this might be a little bit out of your area, but it's kind of more operational once the new building is open. I guess we've done a really good job saying how inviting and collaborative we expect the space to be. Questions coming in about will space be prioritized for graduate students, undergraduate students from engineering? Do we anticipate other campus entities being allowed to use the building? And will there be like a reservation or request process for that, similar to other engineering buildings?
It's a great question. And we certainly anticipate this being a very popular destination on campus. I would say that something to keep in mind is that this building has capacity for something like 800 students at any given time. So it's quite a large space. And parts of this building are already reservable. Certainly some of the study areas, they're available for students to reserve now, or for campus groups to reserve now. This is very much envisioned as a home for the College of Engineering, but something that is open to everyone on campus. So I don't anticipate that there will be a preference necessarily at this time for all areas of the building. Keep in mind that some of these rooms are reserved for student clubs. So those are rooms that I imagine, when we get to that point, which we're not there yet, that we will develop in collaboration with student services, some sort of system for those spaces. And there may be kind of micro conference rooms that students can reserve, but we're very early in the planning process. So we certainly want this to be a bustling and thriving place, but one where you can find a spot. And this is something I think we'll be talking about a lot in the coming year as the plans become more finalized. Sarah, Marissa, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would just add that, this is kind of it's a big project. It's a major project, but it's also kind of a pilot for future capital projects, Hesse O'Brien replacement or renewal of Davis Hall. Based on what we see in the activity that goes on in this space, we might change our thoughts on how much student space there is in either Hesse O'Brien or the Davis replacement. And to be clear, there is student space planned for both of those projects, but this is a kind of a test case for us to see what works for the students and what they want more of, and what they want less of, and we'll adjust to that in future capital projects as well.
I would also just add that a lot of the programs that are actually planned for this space, Siddhartha Center, for instance, Berkeley Center for New Media, and inherently they actually are open to other majors. Like a lot of the programs that Siddhartha Center runs, my understanding is that they're pretty much open to people with any major. So they would be running programs out of the center that are open to non-engineering students as well.
And we got some really, sorry, Kyle, we got some really good feedback from our academic program committee on, will there be space that is open to non-engineering student clubs to host, like pop-ups somewhere in the building. And that was a really great comment that we got that we might not have otherwise thought about. And now we're thinking about how we can integrate that into the building, either through programming or through operations of the building. And that is, I think, indicative of the power of feedback and how helpful we find it. So we're always happy to hear comments from folks.
And Marissa, we've got just a few minutes left, so just a couple more questions. One's about bike parking. Are we integrating bike parking into the building?
Yes, the campus has requirements. If you're interested, they are in the campus design standards. I can't tell you the page number, but they're in there. You can just search for it. And there's requirements for interior bike parking, so like bike lockers inside, as well as exterior bike parking. So that would be bike racks. So we are planning on that for both the interior and exterior of the building.
Fantastic. And just to kind of use our last couple minutes, I would like to address a couple questions that have come in about Evans Hall. So just to kind of clarify, there is not yet a proposed project to demolish Evans Hall and replace it with the building that Marissa shared from the Campus Master Plan. The Master Plan is a visionary document that contains proposals for projects. But the project will ultimately need to go through the long approval process that we covered at the beginning of this presentation for proposing that project, moving it through the formal CPC project approval process before we move forward. And that will also include opportunity for public engagement like this for that project. Also, regarding the programs that are currently in Evans Hall, we will also be doing an open house on Friday for the academic replacement building, which is advertised on the Capital Strategies website and is part of a multi-tiered strategy for the relocation of programs that are currently in Evans Hall. That project particularly pertains to the classrooms and LNS counseling spaces that are currently in the building. So I invite you to please go to the Capital Strategies website to learn more about that open house, where we can share more details about that. And we're also currently working with the other programs that are in Evans Hall in terms of figuring out the strategies for the relocation of those programs. Marissa, with our last couple of minutes, there's also a question, would we be moving the ADA parking spots on the side of Bechtel?
We will be moving those parking spots. We're just in early conversations about those parking spots with disability access and compliance, but I think we will be moving them. They are not code compliant today. And they also are, the parking spaces impinge on the fire and emergency access that is required by code, and that, I certainly would want to provide. We all want to provide adequate service and emergency access. So those are kind of some of the considerations for that. But yes, I believe that we will be moving the ADA parking.
Okay. Well, with that, we're right at time. I think we've done a pretty good job of addressing almost all the questions that came in through the chat today and ahead of time as well. If there is a question that you asked that you feel that we didn't answer, I would invite you to please email us at capitalstrategies@berkeley.edu. The address is also at the bottom of the Capital Strategies website. And if we did not address your question, please let us know. We'll be happy to respond to you and follow up after this meeting to provide you with more information. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone, Sujay, all of our panelists, everybody for joining us today, everybody who took your time out of your schedules to watch this informational open house. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your time and interest in this project. And if you have any more questions, again, please feel free to follow up with email. We'll be happy to get in touch with you either in writing, or I can give you a call back on the phone if you include a phone number and would like to talk. And with that, thank you very much, everyone. And we hope that you have a great day.